Hey guys, and welcome back. Thanks for joining me again after my long hiatus while I was getting finished up with college. As you can tell, I moved back into my old place, and we're ready to get some more videos going. And what a video this will be. Well, maybe the video won't be that spectacular, but the movie certainly was. Avengers: Age of Ultron, the second Avengers film and like the ninth Marvel Cinematic Universe film that they've had so far, and I think it might just be the best one so far. It was such a good movie, and I had such a great time with it. And it was for a plethora of reasons. So let's just get right down into the plot. For those of you who don't know, Avengers: Age of Ultron is about the Avengers, where each of the different heroes comes together for a big film after they've all gone their separate ways for a little while. You got Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Hulk, Black Widow, and Hawkeye. The team back together and kicking some butt. So you start out with a cool action scene. Sort of explains why the Avengers have all been gathered. In a very relevant way, actually. So that you don't have to do like the first movie did and get them and set up like each character individually before they can all finally come together. The team is assembled. Now the movie starts. And the main villain in this movie is, of course, Ultron. This is an AI that Tony Stark created, or at least tried really hard to get right. That's supposed to be like a global defense system. It's supposed to protect Earth from outside forces, because Tony Stark, building on his character from the last films that we've seen him in, is just worried that he and the Avengers are, if sooner or later, not going to be enough for whatever is going to be thrown at the Earth. That eventually they'll die, or they'll get too old, maybe even, except for Thor, but that would be just him. That eventually they wouldn't be able to face whatever task came up against them, and so he creates Ultron, which is supposed to be the super smart computer intelligence program that could face any threat that faced the Earth. Unfortunately, Ultron, as so often is the case with that sort of theme, thinks the only way to save humanity is to destroy it, because humanity keeps we keep killing each other, keep fighting our own wars, and he just wants it all to come to an end. So the race is on for the Avengers to stop Ultron, this incredibly intelligent AI, from destroying the world, of course, or at least killing everybody on it. We've got some new characters. Ultron himself is just spectacular. It was actually weird because I did not expect this out of Ultron. Ultron has a very interesting personality. And when I first heard the premise, I'm like, okay, so it's going to be like iRobot or whatever, where there's some big supercomputer that wants to just, take out everything. It's going to be super cold and very analytical. But it actually is Ultron's kind of insane a little bit. And there's some wonderful moments where you realize, and it's done very much on purpose, that he's kind of got Tony Stark's personality. It feels very much like an AI that Tony Stark built. And it's sort of Tony Stark's personality if he got screwed up a little bit in the head. And so he's very charismatic and a lot of fun to watch. He's a good villain. He's never boring, but he's a little bit insane and super intelligent and very powerful. He builds robot bodies for himself and robot drones to help fight the Avengers. And I'm not going to give away what his ultimate plan is, but it's pretty crazy. Among the other new members of the cast, we have a small part that's played by Andy Serkis, which I didn't see coming, and it's so small you wonder why they cast Andy Serkis. But I have a feeling he's actually a character from a comic book that we'll eventually see in something else, later down the line, maybe. But the biggest newcomers are Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, although they're never, very rightly so, never called that during the movie. A guy who's as fast as the Flash, and a girl who can move things with her mind, and she's telepathic, sort of like Jean Grey from X-Men. Actually, now that I think about it, a lot like Jean Grey from X-Men. But they're both really good characters. but they use them to great effect. They've got likable is not the correct word for them, but you can very much relate to these guys, and you understand what they're going through, and they make really good characters. And I'm great additions. And the thing I love most about this film is every character has a theme. Every character has something that they're dealing with personally, as well as in the whole group. And you could sit down and you can pick out every single character and sort of see what they were going through. Tony Stark has this moral dilemma about he wants to save the world, but he also might have just ended up destroying the world by making Ultron. Thor has things he's dealing with. He's probably like the one who goes through the least change in the movie, but he's definitely got some questions he wants answered, and he's definitely a big personality in the team. Hulk and Bruce Banner continues to strive with his whole like storyline of keeping himself under control, but knowing he can do the most amount of good as the Hulk instead of as Bruce Banner. Black Widow, we get some interesting stuff with her. Like, we get a little bit of backstory for each of the characters, like a little bit of stuff we didn't know before. And Black Widow, like, you just learn some things, and it just makes her such a good character. It really makes me badly want a Black Widow movie, but I think if they keep giving us this good of stuff if they keep giving us stuff as good as this in the Avengers films, or like she did show up in Iron Man 2, even though the part wasn't really very big in that one. But if they keep giving us good stuff like this, maybe we won't need a Black Widow movie. Hawkeye, oh my gosh, Hawkeye being super underutilized. Well, I mean, alright, okay. He wasn't in Avengers 1 a whole lot when he wasn't under mind control. He had a tiny cameo in Thor 1, and I liked him whenever I saw him, but here is where I finally felt like Hawkeye was an Avenger. I really cared about him as much as I cared about the other characters, and I wanted to see him succeed, and you really understood what Hawkeye was all about. And there's this new character. It's not really a spoiler. It's just sort of a secret. I'm not going to tell you anything about the character, but there's this new character that shows up called Vision. I'm sure in the comic it's like the Vision of whatever, blah blah, huge long name, but here he's just called Vision. And he is like one of my new favorites. I really, really like Vision, and I guess there's been no Vision movie announced, but I'm just so looking forward to seeing him in Avengers 3. And so like this movie, it was so spectacular. It was so spectacularly big. There was so much going on, so many wonderful action sequences, so much character development within each character. Like, nobody ever got lost. And if you think about it, there's not a lot of characters in the movie. Like, I think like there even might be less characters to keep track of than the first one. Maybe, yeah. So it's very tight, but it's also very grandiose. It's not super simple. It's a little, but it's like that right mix of simple and complicated, right in the middle, and it tells a big, grandiose story arc for every character, interweaving. And I was so happy they did something new with what seemed to be such an old concept of this AI who it was made to save humanity, but ends up wanting to destroy it. And but the thing though that made this movie stand out to me, the thing that's made it a special kind of movie, other than being Avengers 2, was it really, really is kind of the best universe builder we've seen out of Marvel. Now, Marvel's gotten pretty big with their cinematic universe. They have the Guardians of the Galaxy now that have little to nothing to do with the Avengers. They've got all the stuff we know they're setting up for. Infinity War is the name of Avengers 3 and 4, which are going to be back-to-back. And this movie did a really good job of tying up loose ends from the last films that have come before. It tied up a lot of questions about the end of Captain America: Winter Soldier. And it started to set up things that weren't even necessarily to do with Avengers 3. Like, I saw some things from Thor that look like, okay, is that what Thor's next movie is going to be about? Because he has he has like a one little like side mission he goes on at some point that ultimately has a lot to do with what's going on. But at first I was like, is this just set up for the next Thor film? And I think it is set up for the next Thor film, but it ultimately had a lot to do with with the overall plot of Avengers: Age of Ultron. And there's so many things with this movie could stand on its own two legs for sure, but it also paid attention to what had come before, and it had in mind what was going to come in the future. It it even did a wonderful job of starting to set up the Infinity War stuff without ever losing sight of that Ultron was the villain in this movie. Ultron never got sidelined for the sake of Thanos or anybody else. That being said, before you watch this movie, I really encourage you guys to go see every single Marvel Cinematic Universe movie beforehand. If you don't, it'll still be fine. You could even get away with just seeing the first Avengers film. You would be perfectly fine. That's kind of the beauty of the movie. But I know for a fact that my little brother skipped over Guardians of the Galaxy. He skipped over Guardians of the Galaxy because I told him, it's not going to have anything to do with Guardians of the Galaxy. You won't miss a thing. But it had just a smidgen of stuff in there that if he had seen Guardians of the Galaxy, he would have He would have understood a little bit better. And I'm happy that I saw Guardians first, even though, again, Guardians has very little to do with anything Avengers. But if you've seen Guardians, then you'll see a couple of things, I think particularly to do with Thor's story. They're like, oh, yeah, I know what's going on there. I saw Guardians. So it was just, this movie was a big film with some deep themes, some wonderful characters that was not too complicated, not too simple. I mean, maybe I'm just fanboying out, but there's very few things I could say that were wrong with the film. If anything, I think maybe Ultron showed up a little bit too fast. We get a lot of time with Ultron, but his setup is very quick. It's not so quick that it hurts his character, but I think if you gave him a little bit more time to get going, his character could have been even stronger than it was. So that's not really negative about the movie. It's something that keeps it from being just a little bit on the next level. And man, I'm scrounging for things to say that were bad about it. There's very few things that were bad about it. And as a fanboy, just as a Marvel fanboy, which I guess I am at this point, at least for the cinematic universe, there were so many things that I just wanted to see that I got to see. Like, think to yourself, like the top 3 things you want to see the Avengers do, and I like, for me, the top 3 things I just wanted to see the Avengers do were in this movie. And I had no idea what was going to be in this movie going in, except for that the Avengers were going to fight Ultron. So ultimately, my rating for Avengers: Age of Ultron is a 9 out of 10. I don't give 10 out of 10s very awesome unless... Very awesome. I don't give 10 out of 10s very often. I haven't yet, and I don't plan to unless a movie just, like, rips my soul out. And this movie, while just great, did not rip my soul out. Even 9.5s out of 10, I'm reluctant to give. That movie's got to do something special. This movie, man, this movie was special. But I think, yeah, 9 out of 10 is just the best I can give it because it deserves all of that. It was a really awesome film. It wasn't a masterpiece, but dadgummit Marvel, they're just on a roll. They can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned. They are literally gonna have to have like 4 films in a row be terrible before people give up on Marvel. So, with that being said, go check it out, guys, if you haven't already. It's absolutely worth it, especially if you are if you're already a fan of Marvel, and if you've seen some of the Marvel films already. So with that said, thank you guys for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye.